Who's your emergency contact? Who should we notify in the case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I spent the last 2+ decades of my life. You know, in some of the stories that I've shared with you, sometimes it comes across like I'm outing someone because, you know, for whatever reason, they became a buster or dropped the ball or dropped the nuts. And maybe I am. But like I said, I'm not really too concerned about that because, like always, if you's a G, homie, I'm going to give you your flowers. But if you're not, I'm just going to share it. Because this is my story, the things that I experienced through the course of my time. And there's been a few incidents where we had to knock our own homies off because of the politics. You know, when people come to you and have a legitimate gripe about the way your homeboy's been conducting himself, we have rules and laws in place to try to minimize the drama. And if you got a homie that is disregarding those policies, disregarding those rules, then his action, in a sense, is telling you that he really don't give a fuck about you or the car, because he's constantly putting your car in a situation, putting your life and the homie's life at risk because he's not handling his business. And a lot of things that come up is over debt. You know, dude's got gambling debts, dude got dope debts. If you steal, like, there's no ifs and ands about that. If you steal from another person, homie, if they don't butcher you right there and then, and they come to you and they come to me about it, that's a no-no. There's no room. I have no room to wiggle to save you, because we don't have no tolerance for jailhouse thieves. You know, as far as like gambling debt, as far as like dope debt go, we always give the homie 1 or 2 opportunity to make it right, or even a pass. Like maybe the homie's broke, but because he has an addiction or whatever and he can't really control it, he got himself out there. Yeah, he's still trying to pay his debt off, but is not being paid quick enough to the satisfaction of whoever he owes. We might come together as a community and put up the money to take care of it. But at the same time, we're going to let the homies know, hey, this ain't going to keep continuing, homie, because what you're doing is putting the rest of our lives in jeopardy. You're going to end up causing us to crash because you got no self-control. You know, same thing with gambling debt. We're always going to give a homie a pass on the first couple times. But at some point, it gets to where we have to acknowledge that this dude right here doesn't really care about the rest of us, because he's continuing doing the same thing that he does, knowing that he doesn't have the resources to take care of it. But also, again, in a penitentiary, there's dudes that are serving the dope or running the gambling table or the bookie ticket, know that somebody doesn't have the money, but they know that if they go crying to the peoples about it, that the people take care of the debt, which sets up a bad precedent, because some people take advantage of that. You know, there's a few incidents where the homies didn't have the money and these dudes are serving them, or these dudes loaning them money or whatever, knowing that they can come crying to me and my homies and that we're going to make it right. Like, regardless of what we do to our homies, we're always going to make it right with the people first, because we have a lot of dealings with different races and different gangs as far as business is concerned. And from my perspective is that I always want to make sure business is done correctly and is done right. People get their money. because the little shit that I'm paying out or whatever to cover this dude's ass is minuscule compared to the long-term relationship that I built with these individuals. But at the same time, I can spot dudes that are just being vultures, that knowing that these dudes don't got money and keep giving them shit, keep loaning them money. And when it comes across like that, I shut it down. I said, hey, homie, I already paid the other debt for him. We already went and took care of that. And we already told you not to let him run up no more bills. So, fuck you. Because now you're trying to take advantage of the situation, of our kindness and of our integrity. But at the end of the day, it's on the homie that continues to do this thing. And one of the instances that we have is homie Popper. He's from ABZ out of Fresno, Asian boy. He was in Pollock, and he ran into a situation where he's running up bills and whatnot and didn't have the money to take care of it. But the first couple of incidents, some of the homies over there, because he was a very likable dude, so the love they had for him, they were willing to help him out. But he continued on to do it, ended up getting beat up in Pollock and got sent to Atwater. Now, if you get beat up for a debt, for owing money or whatever, that doesn't mean you're getting X'd out. That just means that they got to beat you up to keep the car from crashing with the car that you owe money to. So you're still in good grace. You're just not going to be allowed to walk that yard no more. So they're going to beat you up, send you on your way, and you get shipped out to another compound. Well, he gets shipped out to Atwater. And in Atwater, he does the same thing. But this time, he knows the homie in Atwater aren't going to be as lenient to him as the homies in Pollock, because the homies in Pollock have been in the prison with him for a couple years, and they built relationship with him and a rapport with him, so they were a little more lenient. When they beat him up, they didn't really punish him. They just let him know that, hey, you can't stay on here no more because we can't keep mediating your problems. But in Atwater, the homies really don't know him like that, and he's just another dude that's causing problems for the car because he can't curb his habit or don't have no self-control. So him knowing that the homie's not going to give him the same grace as they did in Pollock, he ended up checking himself in Atwater. Now, to me, once you check yourself in, once you run, like if he would have just stayed on the compound and got his ass beat when he came to Florence, we could start over. But once you check in, that's a whole different ball game, because for you to check in, for you to be able to tell the CO to protect you, you have to give them a reason why. And when you give them the reason why, that can be interpreted as telling. Well, when he was in a transit center in Oklahoma, he found out he was coming to Florence and knew that I was over there. So he called a couple of homies that was out here on the street that knew me really well to intervene for him. So when I called home, they were like, hey man, we got a homie that I was in Pollock with. He's a good homie. He fucked up. They explained to the story that I just told you about what happened to him in Pollock. And then when he went to Atwater, they explained to me what happened over there. And he's like, man, that's a good homie. He just has a bad habit and he can't, take care of his shit. But he's trying to do right, so they're asking me for a favor to give this dude a pass when he hits the compound. Because the homies that know me, that's done time with me in these different prisons, they know how I carry myself and they know what I expect from the people around me. But at the same time, I have rapports with these individuals, and if they ask me for a favor, when it's something like, the dude's not a rat or nothing like that, like I don't know the extent of what he said to the police when he left Atwater, but no word came back that anybody got picked up on the yard because he told on them or anything. He just got scared that he was going to get beat up again, so he checked himself in. which in my eyes is a no-no anyway, already, But through the course of the 2 weeks that I was talking to the homie about this incident, trying to make up my mind, they asked me for the favor. So I grant them the favor. I said, listen, I'm going to do this, but I'm only going to give this dude this one opportunity because you already know how I am. They're like, yeah, that's cool. Macy just, he's a good homie and shit. He's a rider, this and that, and so on and so forth, trying to sell him to me. So when he hits the compound, I pull him up. I put him in my cell. At this time, I didn't have a cell, so I put him in my cell. I was like, listen, man, this is our business. The homie asked me to do him a favor to give you a pass. But if I'm going to do this, you need to take care of your business that you still got left over in Atwater. So whoever you owe in Atwater, I need a list from all the people that you owe in Atwater. I don't care what race they are, if they're the homie or no homie. I want a list of all your debts in Atwater, and I want you to start making payments. Whatever money you get from over here, start making payments, and you're not going to be allowed to do that over here. So to his credit, he was sending money and still paying some of the homies over there in Atwater that he owed money to, that he ran off on. So in the beginning, it showed that he had good intention. And, my decision of giving him a pass, I felt better about it because he's showing effort to making it right. But this dude is so green in the system that he don't know that checking in is a smear on your character. So when he's in the block getting to know other people and stuff, and they're asking him, where were you was at? Oh, I was in Atwater. He's like, oh, what happened in Atwater? He goes, oh, I checked in because the homie was going to beat me up. So after a couple months, him being on the compound, the whole unit know that he checked in from Atwater. Now I got dudes in my unit looking at me like, what the fuck are you doing selling up with this dude that checked in? Knowing that they know my character and know how I've carried myself through the years. And so I pulled a homie over. I'm like, hey, what the fuck you doing, homie? What the fuck you going around telling people you checked in another spot for? Oh, I don't know. They just asked me and I just told them the truth, right? So now I got dudes that I have built rapport with through the course of decades that I've been in the penitentiary looking at me funny, like, man, what you doing, Mason? I know you're about to go home. I know you only got like 3 or 4 years left, but you still got to carry yourself a certain way. But for me, I already made my decision. My politic is my politics, and I did the homie a favor that asked me to do this favor. So I can't, just because I'm getting scrutinized by the people around me, I can't go back on my word that I gave to the homies out here and the homies in Atwater that, was like, hey, man, it's up to you. But, we really think he's a good homie. He just fucked up and we don't know why he ran off because we weren't going to do that to him. We were just going to have him work it out some way. All my people that I have rapport with, as far as my car goes, the Asian Islander car, already understood the conversation. And they asked me for a favor and I already granted. So I'm not going to go back on my word. But at the same time, this is when the Dub S started coming in. That's the Warrior Society. And I'll share stories with you with all the problems that the Warrior Society have with their own native bros. They have the gang members, the Warrior Society, Native Mob, and Native Crip and Blood or whatever that are on gang time. And then you have the rest of the natives that are they're not independent, but they're called a circle, which is a community. And there's supposed to be a separation between the natives that are gang banging and the natives that are just doing time. But the Warrior Society wants to insert themselves in everybody's politics. So they start inserting themselves in my politics. Because now like I said, the homie been running around the unit telling everybody that he checked in and Atwater. So these dudes and these Warrior Society dudes, I know them. You know, I have a rapport with these dudes that I've been done time with in other spots. And they're just like, you know, looking at me like, what the fuck's going on, Mason? Like, why you got this dude on the yard? Why are you allowing this dude to stay on the yard? And I didn't really explain anything to them about the conversations I had with the homies out here. I was like, hey, this is what it is, man. Whatever situation he had, the homies forgave him. And I'm abiding by that. But through the course of our time, me jumping out there, putting my reputation, putting my face at jeopardy because of this dude, you know, at first, like I said, I didn't have any issue with it. And I didn't even have any issue with everybody else in the fucking block that knew about it. You know, because whoever hit me up, I told him, this is what it is. I'm standing on it. That's the homie. The homies gave him a pass and there ain't nothing to discuss. And whether they choose to interact with me or not, that's their prerogative. But you know, all the people that I had relationship, you know, at first they look at me like sideways a little bit, but they trust my judgment and they trust that I had my reason for allowing the homie to stay on the compound. But unbeknownst to me at the time, this fucker is still doing the same shit. So he was only there for about 3, maybe 4 months. So towards the end of the 3 or 4 months, I got people coming to me complaining about his debt. And now I'm like, damn, I've been sitting here for these last 2 months getting scrutinized by people that I respect, people that I have a relationship for, over your fucking ass, and you're just like spitting in my face because you're now going around doing the same thing over and over again. And you know, at first it was like a couple $100 from this dude. Then somebody else was like $500. By the end of the fucking night, when they gave him credit on whatever it is that he was doing, and the time period that he said he was gonna pay it, I guess that time period ran out, and it's been ran out for weeks. So these people that knew me got tired of waiting, and they already kind of know the situation because I'm no longer paying people's debt. You know, we went through this a few times with the homies in the other spots, and we just made it like, look, home, if somebody comes crying to us about somebody owing a debt, we're not paying it. And you're getting removed off the compound. So these dudes that came to me, they're like, I said, what's up? You know, I'm not paying nobody's debt. You bringing this up to me, you already know there's only one thing's gonna happen. And some were like, oh man, it ain't that serious, man. It's just, you know, I got tired of waiting and he keeps spinning me. And others were like, shit, I'm not gonna get my money anyway. I wanna get some type of satisfaction out and watch the dude get punished. You know, at the time we had a little, you know, in Florence, we didn't have a very big car. There was never more than 8 or 9 of us on the compound at the same time. And at this time, I had maybe 3 years to the house. That's if I keep my good time. Because for me, when I go punish somebody, when I have to go put in the work to deal with a situation, especially a situation like this where somebody's just like disregarding me and disregarding the homies on the compound, not giving us any respect after we saved his ass already, I gave my feelings about it. So if I'm gonna go on this mission, I'm gonna really hurt the dude. And I already know that if I hurt this dude in the way that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pretty much fuck off the rest of my time. You know, when I was in Atwater, my out date was 2020. But after the riots and a couple other incidents, when I called home to my wife's like, what happened to your out date? It changed, you know? It changed from late 2019, early 2020 to the end of 2021. And as you know, I still didn't come home in 2021. I didn't get home till 2022. But there was a couple homies on the compound, youngster, that I want to give my flowers to and my gratitude to and my respect. You know, when we brought up, you know, I don't, even though the homies nominated me to speak for our interests, I've never been comfortable with dictating things for people, you know, dictating how somebody does their time or dictating or nominating somebody to go on a mission. I've always been the person that if a situation comes up, man, we all come together, we debate it, and we all together as a group come with a solution and a way to resolve it. So we had a meeting with all the homies on the compound, which was like 6 of us, and we ran the situation by. And everybody got a vote. And the vote was to vote the homie off the island. But now we got to the point where, okay, who's gonna go put in the work? You know, for me, I've done put my work in through the course of my bid. But at the end of the day, if nobody volunteers to go, I'm gonna go because the responsibility is on me at the end of the day. But again, like I said, I'm not comfortable with just telling somebody to go on a mission that they really don't want to go, because 2 things can happen. You know, if I send somebody to go on a mission and he don't want to go, then I'm gonna have to punish him for refusing the mission, or he's gonna come and bring a move on me because he feels like I'm forcing him to go do something that he don't want to do. But also, it's out of respect for the people around me. So as we're having this conversation, 2 youngsters volunteered. The homie Z out of Vegas, he's from the same hood as dude that I'm talking about. And the homie Aztec, he's Mexican, but he's from TRG out of Fresno. He's from an Asian gang. So when he came on the compound, he ran Asian. You know, he's staying true with the people that he ran with on the street. And me, in our car, Asian Islander car, we have dudes that are black, we have dudes that are white, and we have dudes that are Mexicans that were from Asian gangs on the street. And when they came into the penitentiary, they declared themselves as an Asian Islander, and we embraced them. The only time we have a problem is if somebody says, oh, I'm Asian Islander on this yard, but then go to another yard and say, oh, I'm a Crip. You know, we don't do all that switching up. But if you come off the bus and you make your bed and you declare yourself this and that, and you stick with it through the course of your bid, then you're not going to get nothing from me but respect. Because for a black dude, for a Mexican dude, or for a white dude to run outside of their race is a credit to them, because they already know they're going to get scrutiny by their people. Oh, why are you over there running Asian Islander, this and that? Or you a race traitor, and so on and so forth. But these dudes are staying true to the homies that they had on the streets. And for that, I respect them. So the homie Aztec and the homie Z volunteered to go put in the work. So on that day, you know, the homie that's in question, he works in facility. They're at rec fixing the floor. And I guess the homie Aztec and the homie Z was there at the same time at rec while he was over there fixing the floor. And they went over there and jumped on him. And, you know, dude wasn't no punk. He was Cambodian, and he's a big dude for Cambodian. And he held his own for a minute, but you know, it's hard to fight 2-on-1. But before they were able to punish him, you know, it's too bad, the CEOs came and detained the situation. And the reason I'm sharing this story is, I mentioned before, it's not how you start, but how you finish. You know, you could be good through your whole bid, homie, and done everything right in your whole bid. But in your last few years or last few months, if you become a fucking lame, if you're stealing, if you're telling, then everything that you've done prior to that is erased, because all is left is what you've done now. And at the end of the day, regardless of how the homies felt about him, that he was a good dude and this and that, in reality, he wasn't. Because he never took into account what his action can do to the people around him. The shit that he'd done, or the shit that he was continuing to do, was causing us harm. Because if we try to defend that, we're going to have to crash. And me and being in a position of speaking for the homies, how do I look like allowing all the other homies that's doing their time the way they're supposed to crash over this dude that has no regard for us? So at the end of the day, even after all the love that we shown him, he forced our hand and we had to vote him off the island. And that shit's gonna happen repeatedly with people that's coming to the system. Your action is a reflection on the people around you. And your people's only gonna tolerate your fuck up so many times before they're gonna deal with you. And if you can't get that through your head, you're in for a long bid, homie. Welcome to the USP.